My name is Arthur Bennett, and I am 94 years old. When you live this long, something interesting begins to happen. You start noticing patterns in life that most people are too busy to see, not because they aren't intelligent, but because they are moving too fast, chasing the next goal, solving the next problem, preparing for the next stage of life. And while they are doing that, something very quiet is happening in the background. Regret is growing, not from the big mistakes people expect, not from the dramatic moments, but from small habits, ordinary habits, habits that seem completely harmless, responsible even. But over time, they slowly take something from you. A little peace, a little joy, a little time. Until one day you wake up and realize something painful. You didn't lose your life all at once. You lost it inch by inch. I have watched many people reach the end of their lives with the same sentence on their lips. If only I had realized earlier. Not about money, not about status, but about the habits they repeated for decades without questioning them. Habits that quietly turned into regret. So today I want to share 3 habits that I have seen leave many people with deep regret later in life. And one of them is so common that most people believe it makes them a good person, but it doesn't. It slowly drains your life while everyone else calls it responsibility. So listen carefully, because if you recognize yourself in one of these habits today, you still have time to change it. And sometimes a small change made today can completely reshape the years ahead. Let's begin with the first one, the habit of living for everyone else. When I was younger, I believed something that many good people believe, that a good life meant being available to everyone. If someone needed help, I helped. If someone had a problem, I listened. If someone asked for my time, my energy, my attention, I gave it. And for many years, I was proud of that. People called me reliable, kind, generous, and I wore those words like medals. But there is something no one tells you when you build your life around being the person everyone can count on. Slowly, people stop seeing your kindness as a gift. They begin to see it as your responsibility. Your time becomes public property. Your energy becomes something people feel entitled to. And the requests never stop. One favor becomes 2, 2 becomes 10. And suddenly your life is filled with responsibilities you never consciously chose. I remember a moment when I was around 50 years old. I had worked all week. I was exhausted. All I wanted was a quiet evening at home. But someone asked me to help with something that wasn't urgent at all. And I said yes. Of course I said yes, because saying no made me uncomfortable. On the way there, something strange happened. Instead of feeling generous, I felt resentful. And that was the moment I realized something important. Resentment doesn't come from being a bad person. It comes from giving more than your heart can afford. For years I thought I was being loving, but the truth was simpler. I was afraid. Afraid of disappointing people, afraid of being called selfish, afraid of being judged. So I kept saying yes, and little by little I abandoned myself. If you are over 40, you probably know this feeling. Your phone rings and your first thought is not curiosity, it's exhaustion. Because you already know someone needs something from you. Listen carefully to this because it took me decades to understand. You were not born to carry everyone else's life on your shoulders. You were born to live your own life too. The moment I learned to say a calm, respectful no, something incredible happened. My life became lighter. Not perfect, but lighter, because when you stop living for everyone else, you finally start living with yourself again. The habit of taking everything personally. There is another habit that quietly poisons people's peace. And the sad part is, most people believe this habit is normal. They believe it is simply part of life, but it isn't. It is the habit of taking everything personally. When someone speaks sharply to you, when someone ignores your message, when someone disagrees with your opinion, when someone seems distant or distracted, your mind begins creating stories. Did I do something wrong? Why would they say that? Why are they treating me this way? Suddenly your thoughts start spinning. You replay the conversation, you analyze their tone. You try to decode every word. And before long, something small has taken over your entire evening. I used to do this all the time. Someone could say one careless sentence, and it would follow me for hours, sometimes days. I would replay it in my mind like a broken record, thinking of what I should have said, what I could have said, what I wish I had said. But something changes when you live long enough. You start noticing a simple truth about people. Most of the time, people are not thinking about you nearly as much as you think they are. They are thinking about their stress, their problems, their fears, their unfinished tasks, their own worries. The sharp tone you heard might have come from a bad day. The short message might have come from exhaustion. The silence might have nothing to do with you at all. But when we take everything personally, we carry emotional weight that was never meant to be ours. And over time, that weight becomes heavy. It steals our sleep, it steals our energy, it steals our peace. I remember something an old friend once told me. He said, "Alex, you will suffer much less in life when you stop assuming everything is about you." At the time, I laughed. But the older I became, the more I realized how wise those words were. Because when you stop taking everything personally, something beautiful happens. Your mind becomes quieter. Your heart becomes lighter. You begin to move through life with more patience, more understanding, and far less unnecessary pain. Not everything requires your emotional reaction. Not every comment deserves your energy. And not every silence carries meaning. Sometimes people are simply living their lives, just like you are trying to live yours. And when you learn to let small things pass, you protect something incredibly valuable, your peace. The habit of waiting for the right time. There is one habit I have seen create more regret than almost anything else. And the dangerous part is that it doesn't look like a mistake. It looks responsible, it looks disciplined. It even looks wise, but slowly, quietly, it steals years of your life. It is the habit of waiting for the right time to live. When you are young, this habit feels harmless. You tell yourself small, reasonable things. I'll do it when things calm down. I'll travel when work is less busy. I'll rest when the kids are older. I'll enjoy life once everything is finally organized. And on the surface, those sentences sound perfectly logical. After all, life is busy. Responsibilities are real. Bills must be paid. Families must be cared for. But here is something I learned after watching almost a century of human lives unfold. Life rarely becomes less busy. It simply changes its kind of busy. When you are young, you work hard to build something. Later, you work hard to maintain it, then new responsibilities appear. Parents need help, children need guidance. Your body begins to change its rules. Energy becomes something you can no longer take for granted. And suddenly the years start moving faster, much faster. When I was younger, a decade felt like a lifetime. Now at 94, 10 years can feel like a short chapter in a book. That realization changes the way you look at time. Because the truth is something very few people say out loud. The perfect moment people are waiting for almost never arrives. There will always be something unfinished, something uncertain, something imperfect. Life is not designed to reach a point where everything finally lines up. And if you keep waiting for that moment, you can miss your own life while preparing for it. I remember a man I knew many years ago. His name was Daniel. Daniel was a hardworking man, the kind of man people respect. Responsible, reliable, always planning ahead. For years he talked about taking a long road trip with his wife. Not something extravagant, just a quiet trip across the country. They had a notebook filled with ideas. Small towns they wanted to visit, parks they wanted to walk through, little cafes they had heard about. It was their dream. But every year something came up. Work became busy, money felt tight, the timing wasn't right. Daniel would smile and say, "Next year will be better." Next year came, and then another and another. One afternoon his wife became ill, very ill, the kind of illness that changes the future overnight. Suddenly their plans disappeared. The road trip they had talked about for years never happened. I remember sitting with him months later. He looked older in a way that had nothing to do with age. And he said something quietly that stayed with me ever since. He said, "I thought life would eventually give me space to live, but life never gave that space. I had to take it." That sentence has followed me for decades. Because waiting feels safe, but waiting is not neutral. Waiting is a decision to trade real moments for an imagined future. And the tragedy is that the future rarely looks the way we expect. Listen carefully to this, especially if you are over 40. You do not need a perfect life to enjoy a real moment. You don't need a perfect schedule to take a walk in the evening. You don't need a perfect house to invite someone for dinner. You don't need a perfect mood to call someone you love. Life is not a destination you arrive at once everything is organized. Life is happening in the middle of the unfinished parts, in the middle of responsibilities, in the middle of messy days, in the middle of ordinary Tuesdays. And the older you become, the more you begin to see something beautiful in those ordinary moments. A quiet morning, a simple meal, a conversation that lasts longer than expected, a laugh that appears out of nowhere. These things seem small when you are young, but later you understand something important. These moments were never small. They were life itself. And one day, without warning, a realization appears. The years behind you are greater than the years ahead of you. That is when many people finally understand something they wish they had known earlier. The moment they were waiting for was the moment they were already living. So if you are listening to me right now, let an old person give you a simple piece of advice. Don't wait too long to live your life. Because time is quiet, it doesn't knock on the door, it simply keeps moving. And one day you realize it has been moving faster than you ever imagined. Something many people regret at the end of life. There is something I have noticed after living for 94 years. It is something people rarely talk about when they are young, but it becomes very clear when life begins to slow down. When people reach the later chapters of their lives, they start looking back, not at the big headlines of their life, but at the quiet moments in between. And many of them realize the same thing. There were things they meant to do, things they meant to say, moments they meant to enjoy, but somehow they kept postponing them. I have sat with many people during the last years of their lives, friends, neighbors, family members, and something very interesting happens during those conversations. People almost never talk about the things they bought. They rarely talk about their job titles. They rarely talk about the promotions they once worked so hard to achieve. Instead, their thoughts travel somewhere else. They remember conversations they wish they had finished, people they wish they had visited more often, days they wish they had slowed down and appreciated, moments that seemed ordinary at the time but later became precious memories. I remember visiting an old friend of mine many years ago. He was sitting in a chair near the window, much like I am now. We spoke quietly about life, about the years that had passed. And at one point he said something that stayed with me ever since. He said, "Arthur, I thought I had more time to enjoy my life. Not more time to work, not more time to solve problems, more time to truly enjoy living." That sentence carries a truth many people only understand very late. Life doesn't suddenly slow down and present you with a perfect moment to live fully. There is no magical day where everything becomes organized enough for happiness. Life happens in the middle of unfinished things, in the middle of responsibilities, in the middle of imperfect days, and the moments that seem small today often become the ones we remember the most later. A quiet dinner with someone you love, a walk on an ordinary afternoon, a long conversation that lasts deeper into the evening than you expected. These things don't look important while they are happening, but later they become some of the most meaningful memories we carry. Age has a way of revealing something simple. The real value of life was never hidden in extraordinary moments. It was always there, inside the ordinary ones. And many people realize this truth only when they begin to run out of time. That is why, if there is one reflection I would offer you today, it is this. Do not wait for life to become perfect before you allow yourself to enjoy it, because the life you are waiting to start may already be happening around you right now. When you reach my age, people start asking you a certain question more often. They lean a little closer when they ask it. Almost like they already know the answer might matter. They say, "After everything you've seen, what advice would you give the rest of us?" And every time I hear that question, I pause for a moment. Because life is not simple enough to be reduced to one sentence. 94 years contain too many stories, too many lessons, too many mistakes and beautiful moments mixed together. But there is one pattern I have noticed again and again, a pattern that appears in the lives of many people. Regret rarely comes from the things people expected. Most people believe regret will come from big, dramatic mistakes, a terrible decision, a moment of failure, a sudden disaster. But that is not usually how regret grows. Regret grows quietly. It grows in the background of ordinary life. It grows from small habits repeated for many years, habits that seem harmless, habits that even look responsible on the surface. But over time, they slowly shape the direction of your life. Today we talked about 3 of those habits. The habit of living for everyone else while slowly forgetting yourself. Trying to be everything for everyone, trying to meet every expectation. Trying to carry responsibilities that were never truly yours. Then there is the habit of taking everything personally. Allowing other people's moods, opinions, or careless words to take control of your peace. Carrying emotional weight that was never meant to belong to you. And finally, the habit that might be the most dangerous of all. The habit of waiting for the right moment to start living your life. Waiting for things to calm down. Waiting for more money, waiting for more time. Waiting for a future where everything finally feels perfect. But life rarely becomes perfect. And time has a way of moving quietly while we are busy waiting. One day you suddenly realize that years have passed. The children have grown, the seasons have changed. Your energy is different, your priorities are different, and you begin to see life with a kind of clarity that only time can give. You begin to understand something that once seemed obvious but was easy to forget. Life was never supposed to begin later. Life was happening the entire time. In ordinary mornings, in simple conversations, in the small quiet moments you almost ignored because they didn't look important enough. But those moments were the real story all along. And the beautiful truth is this: if you are listening to these words today, there is still time. Time to change small habits, time to choose peace more often. Time to protect your energy, time to say the things that matter. Time to enjoy the life that is already in front of you. Change rarely comes through one dramatic decision, it comes through many small ones. A boundary you finally set. A moment you allow yourself to enjoy. A conversation you decide not to turn into an argument. A day where you choose presence instead of postponement. And those small choices repeated over time can slowly reshape your entire life. At 94 years old, I have learned something very simple. A meaningful life is not built from perfect circumstances. It is built from moments that we choose not to waste. Moments where we decide to be present. Moments where we decide to care for ourselves as much as we care for others. Moments where we stop waiting for permission to live. So take care of your time, take care of your peace, take care of your relationships, and most importantly, take care of the life that is unfolding right now, right in front of you. Because one day, many years from now, you will look back at this chapter of your life, and you will either say, "I'm grateful I truly lived those years," or you might whisper something many people discover too late. I wish I had started sooner. If this story meant something to you today, consider subscribing to the channel. Here we share reflections, life lessons, and stories gathered from long lives and quiet wisdom. Stories that remind us what truly matters before time moves too far ahead. And if someone came to your mind while listening to these words, a friend, a parent, a partner, share this video with them. Sometimes a single message arrives at exactly the moment someone needs it most. Thank you for spending this time with me, and when you're ready, I'll see you in the next story.